Hello everyone, today we are going to break down the fights we didn't see in the Trial of 7. So basically what was happening when Duncan Aerion were going at it. But before that, remember like the video, it helps out the channel a lot, and subscribe and yada yada yada, let's get to it. As we know, the teams charged at one another in the beginning. The formation the teams we kinda have from these photos. For Dunk's team, starting from the left, we have Robin Rysling, Ryamun Fossoway, Lyonel Baratheon, Baelor Targaryen, Duncan, Humfrey Hardyng, and Humfrey Beesbury. For Aerion's team, we don't have a great shot of them like we do Duncan's, but from these photos we can kind of figure it out. So starting from the right, we have Daeron Targaryen, Steffon Fossoway, Donald of Duskendale, and then Maekar Targaryen. We now have to switch angles to get the rest of the team. It is then Aerion Targaryen, and the last two I'm not 100% sure what the order is for them. Since they're both Kingsguard and already wearing their helmets, I can't tell. So let's just say the next person is Roland Crakehall and then Willem Wild. So from this we know who was going at who in the initial charge. Willem Wild was going at Humfrey Beesbury, Roland Crakehall was going at Humfrey Hardyng, Aerion was going at Duncan, Maekar going at Baelor, Donald going at Lyonel, Steffon going at Ryamun, and Daeron going at Robin. From the aftermath of the Trial of 7, Ryamun tells Duncan as he helped him off the field that Humfrey Beesbury and Humfrey Hardyng both died in the first charge. Which is kinda wild. Both were great knights. So to die in the first charge is nuts. It kind of shows you how skilled the Kingsguard are. Granted, Humfrey Hardyng did have a broken leg courtesy of Aerion in episode 3, but still. We actually do see Roland Crakehall take out Hardyng here. He just started smacking him with his sword and we see him fall from his horse. I would assume this is where Hardyng dies, because if it's not, that's just mean on Roland's part. Like, bro had a broken leg, on the ground, he was basically not going to be a factor anymore, and Roland rolls up on him again later and kills him? What a jerk move. Unless Hardyng was kind of being like the Black Knight from Monty Python's The Holy Grail and was refusing to accept defeat and just kept getting back up, then completely understandable. Either way, Hardyng dies near or at this moment. We do not get a glimpse of Beesbury's death. That happens off screen. Daeron Targaryen in episode 4 told Duncan that he planned to intentionally fall after the first charge, and he told Duncan to make it believable. Hit him in the head. Not too hard, but hard enough to make it look real. Then he was going to fake being knocked out. Now Duncan was knocked out himself after the first initial charge, and I don't know if Duncan told any of his other teammates about Daeron's plan. He at least didn't in the show. Daeron was going against Robin Rysling, known to be kinda crazy. I assume the minute Robin's lance touched Daeron, he just decided to fall off his horse and fake unconsciousness, not wanting to risk any more than he has. So Daeron's fall happens off screen as well. And as we saw in the episode, Duncan gets a flail to the face from Aerion and gets knocked out for a short amount of time. So at the current moment, Dunk's team is down 2 people, with 1 being knocked out. Aerion's team has 1 person knocked out, but they're going to stay knocked out. So technically, it is a 4v6 right now. Duncan awakes from his flashback. We see someone fall on him and roll off to the left. We also see another person there as well. From the armor color, I believe this is Baelor, who we saw unhorsed. And the person who was already on the ground was Aerion. We see a Targaryen shield laying with him, and we know he carries that throughout his bout with Duncan. So when Dunk was dreaming of Rafe, Aerion was unhorsed by someone, and Baelor was just unhorsed now. The person who most likely unhorsed Baelor was his brother Maekar. The Kingsguard are sworn to protect the royal family, and since Baelor is part of that, they can't touch him in this. And I just don't believe Steffon Fossoway has that dog in him to go after someone in the royal family. So I'm thinking Maekar. For Aerion, your guess is as good as mine. Lyonel Baratheon seems like he would want that smoke, so let's say him. I find it interesting though that Baelor and Aerion were right next to each other and kinda just ignored one another. Baelor wasn't going to hurt his nephew, and Aerion knows this whole thing doesn't end until Duncan is dead or yields. So they kind of just have this gentleman's agreement and move on. Aerion attacks Duncan. Duncan's able to roll away and get back on his feet, but immediately gets smacked in the head with a mace by Maekar, and he falls right back down. Maekar seemingly was going in for another attack on Duncan as he laid on the ground, but Baelor comes to his rescue. He uses a lance he found on the ground and sends Maekar flying from his steed. It is hard to see, but as Aerion and Duncan continue their fight, we see Maekar and Baelor continuing to go at it. As I've said, Baelor does not want to hurt his nephew, so he will not fight him, but he knows what Aerion did was wrong, so he has to let Duncan beat him up, to try and get him to yield or maybe die. Baelor does not like Aerion. He thinks he sucks, but he does not want to be known as a kinslayer. Maekar, on the other hand, knows this whole thing ends when Duncan is dead, and he is perfectly fine with killing Duncan, so he will be trying to go after him. Everyone else seems to still be on their horse at this time. As Duncan and Aerion were rolling in the mud, Aerion was inches away from driving his dagger into Duncan's neck. But just in time, Ryamun Fossoway comes to his rescue and smacks Aerion in the head with his sword, knocking him off. Remember, helmets are strong. They can take a few hits. A sword isn't going to cut through a helmet, but it is going to hurt like hell, I'll say that much. Ryamun is pretty satisfied with himself here. Even looks back to admire what he did. Big mistake. His cousin Steffon Fossoway is right there with a lance pointed at him, and it hits him hard. But Ryamun was able to stay seated. Good on him. He was blindsided and didn't fall off. I'm quite impressed. We see to the right of them, Robb and Rysling going at it with a Kingsguard knight. Both trade lance blows, but both keep their seat. Duncan and Aerion both get up and are now sword fighting. In the background, we see Lyonel Baratheon and a member of the Kingsguard going at it. Both remain on their horses, but they are trading sword blows with one another. This was one of the reasons Lyonel said he wanted to be in the Trial of 7 to face off with the Kingsguard. So he's having a ball right now. Duncan and Aerion continue to fight, and Ryamun rides in between the two, knocking Aerion over again. Not gonna lie, I didn't realize how much Ryamun helped Duncan out during this. He's kind of the MVP right now. After he did that, he and his cousin Steffon started fighting again, swinging their swords at one another from their mounts. Ryamun hates Steffon. He thinks he's a jerk. Steffon does not think much of his cousin either, and he's kind of mad at him too. He quit being a squire because of his betrayal of Duncan. So both hate each other and they're really going at one another. Now you may be wondering, what's going on with the people we haven't seen in a while? Because we know what Baelor and Maekar are doing, we know what Lyonel and that Kingsguard member are doing, and we know what the Fossoways are doing. So that leaves Robb and Rysling and the other two Kingsguard members unaccounted for. In the books, Willem Wild gets carted off the field at the end of the Trial of 7. He gets knocked out. So let's say he is knocked out at this point. So Robin is in a 1v1 with Roland Crakehall or Donald of Duskendale. Duncan is able to endure the beating he is getting from Aerion and gets a couple of hits in himself. He finds the weak point in Aerion's armor and gets a good cut in. Aerion screams in pain. Maekar hears his son scream and wants to go rescue him, but his brother Baelor is in the way. Maekar does not want to hurt his brother, but he does not want to see his son die either. So right now, Maekar was maybe going 50% against his brother, not really wanting to hurt him, and Aerion was winning, so he thought he could take it easy. But now after he sees that his son is hurt and needs help, Maekar is going to turn the intensity up to try and get to him, which means Baelor needs to be more careful. Maekar smacks Baelor hard in the face mask and throws him to the side. He runs to Aerion, but Baelor calls out to Lyonel to stop him. Lyonel rides up on him on his horse, but Maekar was ready. He grabs a lance that was on the dead body of Hardyng and kills Lyonel's horse, unseating him. This fall breaks the antlers off Lyonel's helmet as well, which has to piss him off. Lyonel and Baelor hold Maekar back from getting to Aerion and Duncan, so Maekar is in a 2v1 against his brother and Lyonel. So let's do a quick rundown of where everyone is at. Robin is still facing the other Kingsguard knight, presumably. If Lyonel is here with Baelor, that most likely means he was able to knock out or cause the Kingsguard member he was fighting to yield. Either way, he's gone, I guess. And Ryamun and Steffon are still fighting one another. Duncan falls over, looks like he's dead, and he gets back up. He has his big Rocky Balboa moment. Everyone in the crowd is telling him to get up. He even gets his former teacher, Sir Arlen, telling him to get up, just like Mickey from the Rocky movies. You can't tell me this wasn't inspired by that. Duncan wrestles Aerion to the ground and uses his size advantage and beats the crap out of him. Aerion then yields to Duncan, wanting this to end, but he whispers it, so no one else hears it. So everyone continues fighting. We see Steffon and Ryamun still going at it. They both got unhorsed at some point and are now fighting on the ground. Ryamun's kinda beating him up too. He tackles him to the ground. We see Maekar is dealing with Lyonel and Baelor. Like I said, Maekar has turned the intensity up, trying to get to his son. Baelor smacks him in the back with his sword, like pretty lightly to be honest, and Maekar does a quick turnaround and hits him hard with his mace, causing Baelor to fall over. And this hit, Maekar is going to regret for the rest of his life, because it's going to cause the death of his brother Baelor. As we saw at the end of the episode, he's missing some of his skull, and you can see his brains. Duncan drags Aerion to Lord Ashford. Aerion withdraws his accusation, and Duncan is the victor. But at what cost? Duncan's team lost 3 good men. One was going to be a great king. The events here are going to cause a ripple effect on the future. In a lot of ways, the events of Game of Thrones is because of Baelor's death. If he was alive to be king, most likely none of that stuff would have happened, but what can you do? So nobody actually died on Aerion's team, which is kind of surprising. They may change that for the show too. We will just have to wait for the next episode to see what's up. And that is it. What did you think of the Trial of 7? Leave it down in the comments below, and if you want more A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms content, please subscribe and like the video. Check out the Twitter link in the description below, and as always, have an awesome day.